Welcome back to the Optional Boss Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Josh. The other one is Tyler. And today is episode 24, where we are going to talk about some limited print games. Tyler, what's going on?
One of our hosts, of our two hosts, the two hosts that are here that are us, and only two, except sometimes when not. How are you?
I don't know if that was intentional or not, but you sounded exactly like, I think, episode 2?
Neat.
Yeah.
Everything's a throwback.
Everything's a throwback when you think about it.
Yeah, we're a retro team here.
Oh, God, yeah. Where's my CRT at 72 inches?
Oh, man.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty swell. Been busy. Been really busy. Haven't been able to play as many games as I'd like, but, you know, not busy in a bad way. Just the amount of time that I've had has been pretty sparse for it. How about yourself?
Things have been lifelike.
Life happens, yeah. You know, I got a handful of games that I've been playing lately, but for the most part, taking care of some tasks. How about yourself? Have you had a good chunk of time for gaming?
Not a whole lot, not as much as I normally do, and again, same thing, pretty much just life getting in the way, and that's perfectly fine. Getting things done and all that kind of stuff. Only thing I've really been touching though, and I went back to it, mainly because one of my good friends is playing it at the moment, is Dark Souls 3. Started replaying that, and I figure I'm actually going to go through the DLC and try and get as many achievements or trophies or whatever you want to call them out of the way this time, and so yeah, just having a good time with that.
Dark Souls 3 is something that I want to get to.
You need to do.
I'm gonna do it at some point, but we've kind of touched on this before, how I like to create almost like a gaming schedule for myself, whether I adhere to it or not. It just kind of makes me feel better about how I'm prioritizing my time. And Dark Souls 3 is like the third or fourth down the list of the Souls games I need to get to. Number 1 would be Lies of P, which we're, a month away from, which is very exciting. And
if
then
that.
I have Elden Ring sitting there, and Elden Ring is like, poof, that's going to be a big gap in that chunk. And then I want to get to Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's the list of priorities. That said, I am very excited to go back to the world of Dark Souls because, it's like I've said several times before, of all of those proper FromSoft Souls games I played, Dark Souls 1 is my favorite. And you've mentioned to me before that 3, it has a lot of callbacks to 1 in really nice ways.
Well, it's in the same world, right?
Yeah.
Where 2 is kind of with Dren Lake, or I think that's the area name, where Lothric is essentially Lordaeron, just many, many years afterwards. So
it's a future story.
Yeah, we're talking like tens of thousands of years afterwards. But you still see, like, you'll see things that you saw in Dark Souls 1, like Lost Izalith. You'll see off in the distance, and you can make it out pretty simplistic because so Lost Izalith, before you got down there, there's Quelag and her sister underneath. I forget her name, but she was taking all the curse from humanity that was down there, right?
Is that?
And she was kind of stuck to the wall. It had she ran the coven.
Yeah, her sister was the one near like the brain maggot guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And so they had another sister that they both thought were dead, Quelag and the Covenant one. And God, I hate myself for not remembering the name right now because it really makes the point moot. But you can find the sister who they thought were dead cuddled up to the Covenant lady's body in Dark Souls 3. So you revisit like Anne Orlando.
Yeah.
And see all the chaotic mess that's turned into. Which, it was already a chaotic mess to begin with.
I don't know. I guess
it was a mirage.
Slight spoiler territories, although I guess for people who don't know, when I just say the names of locations, it's just like, okay, that helps. But I don't know, something about Anne Orlando, it had like this very oppressive beauty to it. Like everything was so I don't
Well
want to say
kept.
yeah, like it looked like basically they look rich, this giant castle society, and everything's big and
Very,
ornate and all that stuff,
very
and
posh.
but also like quiet and very silent and muted. Like you could tell, like it's just maybe it's because everything can one shot you usually when you get there, but at the same time, it's it's a terrifying beauty, and that's just something that really sticks with you in some world design. So,
It's
and it's always
quiet.
cool.
Too quiet.
It's I'm trying to think of like an older game would have been the first time that I ever discovered that like going back to a previous location from a previous game and how it's like either dilapidated or built up or something like that. And that's always a really
Hmm.
cool sensation to discover in a sequel.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I guess the first example of that I would have ever encountered would have been Pokemon Silver.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Not quite the same scenario, but a Link to the Past, Light World and Dark World. That's more
See,
like two different worlds built on top of each other, but not so much
yeah.
time given.
I was thinking more so specifically like individual games in a series that you can return to
Right.
previous areas. Yeah, no, that's really cool. Have you been tinkering with anything other than Dark Souls 3?
No, I think the next game that's not new that I'm going to dive into is going to be Final Fantasy 3. I've made
Ooh.
someone a challenge that
Accepted
I
to
would play through it.
challenge.
Accepted to challenge. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good way of
Yes.
saying it. That's a proper
Yes.
way to say it.
I also need to start. It's fall's coming. It's time to get into an RPG mood, and yeah, I'm gonna have to finally start diving into Amori as well before the end of the year, which
Yes.
seems like a bit away now, but it is fast approaching.
It's crawling up really quick, and with time going by so quick, let's just kind of take a step back, recognize something. Tyler,
Well,
after this episode is going to, so this is the 24th episode of the show. Next
yeah,
episode is going to be 25th, and do you know what that falls on? Its release date.
that would be September 15th, wouldn't it?
That's going to be this episode.
Is that this one? No, this is September
Oh
1st,
no,
isn't it? Yeah,
no,
yeah. 26 is going to
right. My
be
dates are all gone. Okay, so
yeah,
not next episode, but the episode after.
yeah. Yeah,
That's going
that's
to be 1 year of Optional Boss podcast.
haha, staying consistent and not shutting her down. That's actually pretty crazy.
And not getting the dates right. We're still a couple of idiots, and we will adhere by that until we do shut this down, which
Year
we don't have
one.
no plans on stopping.
We're doing all right. I think for 1 year into it, we're we're keeping it classy. But
Let's go with that.
that is very exciting. And
No, so
I do
anyone
know.
who's found us through this first year, or even afterwards, if it's 2 years down the road and you're listening to this from the future, thank you guys so much for giving us a chance, giving us a listen, and participating on social medias and all that kind of stuff. It's the world to us.
Especially those who interact more than we do.
Yeah. Oh God.
So I've noticed, and I apologize to those who may have done so through some avenues. Some of our, I guess, what would you call them? Like the things that allow our podcast to get a bit more reach. I couldn't tell you what they are, but I know like there are different avenues that people can leave comments for us or
Yep.
reviews, and I know I don't know where they all are. So I definitely feel bad for those of people who have left a review, and I would like to acknowledge them, even if I haven't seen it. Thank you, whoever you may be.
I have seen them. I don't always reply. It really depends if there's something worth replying to. They're all good. But I know through Spotify, it comes up with a automatic question now. How did you find this episode? Or give us your thoughts. Something along those lines. So, and
Okay.
anytime that those come through, I always read them. And I always post them to the public unless there's something else going on in there that I've seen. Because there has
Give
been
them
some
to
spam
us.
ones too, but
Give them your thoughts.
yeah, early plug, go leave us a review on your podcasting service of choice. Because it does help us in the end, and if it is negative, well, I want to know why. I want to know what we can improve.
Hasn't been a year yet. 1 star.
All right, well.
And then we could remedy that problem soon.
Give us a month.
Yeah. The next episode, I do believe, though, we are doing something a little bit special. So
Yes.
every episode we do is special, but like special.
It is the episode 25. We're going to be talking about a special game to us, and if you stick around to the end, we will say which one it is.
Yeah,
or if you just scrub through to the end. One of the two. I suggest listening.
Maybe even a special guest appearance, name drop of it midway through, as we're... I guess I haven't even talked about what I've been playing. I just kind of rambled on at the start there, didn't I?
Yeah, you said life. You've been playing life.
Life's been playing me. No, I've been trying to play some smaller things lately because I have a lot of bigger games on the horizon. And I recently finished off the Pokemon trading card game for Game Boy. And it's awesome. Like, I don't know, maybe 5 hours I put into it, and I ended up liking with most of the cards, and I beat the campaign. And the campaign is a lot of fun. And, you know, it's still a card game, clearly based off the card game, but you can go into it just like a very short, quick RPG, and you'll have a good time with it. The old school Pokemon card game is so easy, but it's fun. And that was
easy doesn't mean bad, right?
Oh God, no. There were actually some card matches you get into, and they would actually be pretty challenging. But I also know that in the world of card games, like RNG plays a pretty big factor in it, so your difficulty may vary.
Yes.
So I polished that off, and I thought it was a fine time. I have also... I've been doing something I haven't done in a good while, which is I downloaded a free-to-play game that I got into probably about a year or two ago. I couldn't really tell you, called Vigor. And for those who do not know, it's so many things that I hate in a game, and I have so much fun with it. It's essentially a battle royale style game. However, instead of get in, kill as many people, and survive till the map shrinks sort of thing, it's a post-apocalyptic scenario where you're not really encouraged to get into combat. It's just get as much stuff as you can out of this wrecked town and get the heck out of there without getting killed and looted. And I don't know. It's a nice little adrenaline rush. It's free, so you're gonna obviously fall into those. I don't even know if I could call it pay to win. I'm sure it is. You get better guns, but I don't think paying would help me. I am not good at shooters.
That's fair enough. And also,
I like it.
I think
the
it's
hide
pretty
and seek angle is what I like.
I think it's pretty blasphemous that you're playing that and you dropped Inscription.
I think so too. But anyway, yeah, but I've been having my fun with it. But it's very much like a brief distraction. I do want to get to things that are not endless time sinks. For those people who enjoy those free-to-play games, all the power to you. They are a good time. Like I said, I've just been hopping in and out myself, but they never end, and that's why I can only invest so much time into it before I move on and
absolutely
get down to something a little bit more serious. And
when you crave structure,
I do crave structure. I've also been craving ripping through another Mega Man game. I think that sounds like a good time. I think I might do X3 this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a day or two, so I think I might find some time to do that. And
X3 is one that I just kind of honestly gave up at the end. I did not kill Sigma.
X3 gets kind of dumb at the end.
I gotta fix that.
He's just got that tiny, tiny head on that giant body, and it's very hard to hit. Yeah. Yeah, and contact damage, the dreadful contact damage. And outside of
When
that,
your boss's main force of damage on you is by touching you, get
and,
fucked.
and he takes up 3/4 of the level. Yeah,
And it takes 3/4 of the level, yeah.
it's not a good time. And
No, get
something
fucked.
I have recently started and been making a bit of progress in because after the Pokemon trading card game, I've been playing that through the Switch Online. I booted up also on the Switch Online. I think it's called Gargoyle's Quest,
Oh, yeah.
like the first Demon's Crest, but for Game Boy, and
Yeah.
it is solid. Like, just the only thing that's a shame about it is that it's a Game Boy game because there's so much potential for it. But as a Game Boy game, it is incredible. Like, it controls well. It's a lot like a weird comparison to make is it's actually a lot like Zelda 2 because there's like overworld RPG and quests you got to go on, but the levels are side scroll. Well, it's a spin off of Ghouls and Ghosts, right?
Right.
But you play as the demon that kills everybody in Ghouls and Ghosts. It's great. And yeah, I've, maybe sunk about 2 hours into it, which for a Game Boy game, I'm probably like 2/3 of the way done.
Sounds
And
about right. Yep.
yeah, it's great. It's a more bite-sized version of Demon's Crest. And as I may have mentioned before, I went through Demon's Crest maybe a year or two ago, and I thought it was incredible. So I would very much recommend Gargoyle's Quest if you're looking for just a neat little Game Boy curiosity.
Those are both games I gotta go to. I gotta try out Demon's Crest and Gargoyle Quest, it was called.
I think so. Yeah, I would say though Demon's Crest takes priority just because it's for Super Nintendo. It's great.
Right.
No need to elaborate on that. That's Capcom at its peak for the Super Nintendo. Good times all around.
Just good.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird situations where I always forget that I have the online service. And it's like, oh shit, I got such a nice library here that I could check out.
Yeah.
And then here I am. I'm in that weird mood where it's like I want to replay something, like something comfortable to me.
See,
And I found myself kind of trying to shy away from it and not touch it, but I really want to touch it. Is Earthbound and Mother 3. And right now I'm doing Dark Souls 3, which I played before. So I'm going into it trying to do something that I haven't done, such as the DLC.
Yeah.
This time, so it's more of I can justify it to myself.
I mean, like I said,
But comfort food's good too.
I got a hankering to go back to some Mega Man, right? So it's
Yeah.
a little bit shorter of an investment than an RPG, but all the same, it's still just I want that kind of nice, relaxing. I can just plow through it and have a good time kind of game.
Something that we should probably touch on one day for a topic is the comfort food games, the games that we have beat and just continuously go back to, like after a year or so.
Yeah, not games made out of comfort food like Eminem's Kart Racer or something like that.
No,
they
those,
exist.
ugh,
They're cursed.
they do exist.
They're.
Corporations banking on brand recognition.
Is that how we're gonna segue? Should we remind people what we're talking about today?
Because we're almost 18 minutes into a ramble intro. Yeah. I'm gonna do a little something different and gonna cue up some more music just because I love putting music in these. And we'll be back when we start talking about limited print games.
Yeah.
So, when we're talking limited print games, we are talking about companies such as Super Rare, Strictly Limited, Limited Run, and God, so many more out there. And the one thing we've mentioned before on the show that we are both physical collectors, and a lot of what we talk about is going to be Switch oriented today. But these companies do generally do PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 versions. They have done some Xbox versions as well. But yeah, limited print games. They make physical copies of games that would otherwise not normally ever have a physical copy. And for that, it's kind of both of our blessing in disguise, but also burns a hole in our pocket. because
This
we can't help it sometimes.
this is very much like the collector's edition episode in the sense that this episode will mostly be understood by collectors or, people who are just generally curious about the collecting side of gaming, at least, like you said, primarily for the Switch. And, well, I guess to open things up, when do you think you made your first limited purchase and started kind of realizing what the heck all that was?
Oh God! So it was actually you who told me about what these things were, and it was actually from Limited Run Games. Limited Run is probably one of the bigger companies in there, but God, what was my first? Ah,
So I
honestly,
can,
I don't.
I,
I don't know what my first was. It's kind of funny because I think I know what your first was, but I can't tell you what mine was.
okay, what do you think my first was? I'm sure you'll get it correct
Golf
because
Story.
it was Golf Story, yes.
Haha.
And actually, looking back, because I can view my entire purchase history, which there's 2 full pages here, my goodness. But yeah, Golf Story was the first thing I ever got from them, and it was apparently their 15th Switch game. So I got on the bandwagon, I guess, pretty quick. And funny enough, it's not like I really knew anything about these. I just knew that um,
You saw something
Golf
you wanted,
Story.
so you got it.
Yeah. Well, not even that. Golf Story was something I knew that was coming to Switch, and I was like, this is a game that I'm definitely going to get, of which I should probably finish it one day. um, but all the same, it very much intrigued me. It was like the Mario Golf Advance, but a quirky remake. So I just searched up one day Golf Story Physical, and yeah, came across this company called Limited Run, and they're like, we're selling it. I was like, perfect. And I ordered it. And I didn't even know about how their business practices worked at the time. I just thought it was a store that was selling it, right? Didn't really think anything
Hmm.
of it. And it wasn't until, oh, geez, 3 to 6 months later when I got my game. And, first of all, it's cool. It's really cool to be able to get, like, physical editions of stuff like that. But then I started to learn that, they have 2 weeks to a month that they're available and short print. It really opened my eyes to this very vast world of not retail purchasing games.
Right. And Limited Run for the first little bit of their whole company being a thing, they used to do kind of like what the name was. It now they have open pre-orders, so if you order between this time and this time, they'll order it and make it for you. Where you
So,
can't get outside of that time. Where before they only had like X amount of copies, and then it was first come first serve. So they have changed their whole model up, and some companies still do that. Super Rare Games, I think they determine they're gonna have this many copies. Same with Strictly Limited.
yeah.
I don't think it's not as so open pre-order now.
So when it comes to these limited print companies, at least the ones that I'm aware of, because when the Switch really started taking off, a lot of these companies popped up, and I'm pretty sure a good handful of them don't even exist. I can think of a few, but I'll get to those later. But your juggernauts in this smaller side of the industry would be number one Limited Run, especially now that they've been acquired by Embracer Group. That was what, like
Oh God, yeah.
a year or so ago, which I'll get into that a little bit more later if we're looking specifically at Limited Run. But then your next heavy hitter would be Super Rare, and Super Rare is, like you were saying, they still follow that business model of we print so many copies and that's what we sell. And
Yep.
the thing that's nice about Super Rare is, for the most part, when they put it up for sale, you buy it and it is sent to you, which,
Yes.
it's got to come all the way from the UK, sure, but I mean, you're getting it in maybe 2 weeks, as where with Limited Run. Now, it is kind of cool, especially, I know for a fact that we've had those periods where, like, in the span of a month, you have like 4 or 5 games that you ordered from like 6 months to a year ago, and they all start showing up in that same month.
And
And
then it just
sometimes,
completely fucks the backlog.
yeah, it's probably one of the worst things for the backlog because it's so exciting, and you're like, I'm never gonna play all these. Um, but all the same, yeah, Super Rare, you can at least count on getting it when you buy it. But the one thing I'm not crazy about when it comes to super rare is on the flip side to that one, as cool as it is to have something that would be considerably rare and limited, I personally just more so like having it in general. You know, if it accumulates value, that is a cool secondary thing, but I'm not
It's a
one of those people
bonus.
who it's a bonus for sure. If anything, when I see the price of a game go up in my collection, I'm like, I'm glad I got it when it wasn't that expensive.
Right.
Less than, oh, I can make so much money off of it. And
So I did look up my first purchase
from Limited Run,
from Limited Run, which would have been
yeah,
my first limited print purchase.
yeah.
Take a guess at what do you think it is?
That's a good question, actually. What number is it?
Oh, I can't tell you that.
Uh,
Because you have it as well.
I have
You
this
have this
funny
as well.
feeling that it's Celeste.
It's blasphemous,
That is a pretty
right?
fantastic
That's
first
kind of
purchase for
poetic.
them.
My second one
Uh,
being Divinity Original Sin 2, which Larian's
that's
making
right.
headlines right now with Baldur's Gate, right?
Yeah, that actually, your thoughts on Divinity have pretty much kind of made me think that I might try Baldur's Gate once it's fully out. Not right away. I know that's going to be another massive game, but I know
Right.
the team behind it was very competent. And funny enough, I was actually looking at the Blasphemous cover art and remembered like the limited run one was different, and I didn't realize like it was that front-facing portrait as opposed to I think the retail artwork because
It's kind of on the side.
we'll get to that as well. But yeah, he's kind of doing like he's jumping towards the camera or something like that. I wouldn't know
Yes.
how to exactly describe it. Um, let's see, what was Blasphemous for me? It's like the seventh or eighth game I ever got from them.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, I'd been buying from them for quite a while. I've actually, according to my Golf Story purchase, been a customer of theirs for 5 years.
Oh, jeez.
I've been collecting for Switch for a good while.
And
Now,
still ordering from him because you just got the Castlevania Advance Collection ordered,
that
right?
that took its sweet time, but yes,
Oh
I
God,
did.
did it ever?
Yeah. Wow.
But
Yeah, I'm actually
finally, finally, it's coming.
not sure when I bought Blasphemous because I've. Oh, geez, no, it's like my 15th or so game from them.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because they came out November 2019. Wow, has it only been that long? Or has it been that long already? Hard to say. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of cool things from Limited Run, but I like limited runs. I like Limited Run's pre-order policy, the open pre-order model, right? Keep the
Yes,
window open for
absolutely.
about 2 weeks to a month, in some cases, month and a half if it's one of their bigger releases, and sell as many copies that will sell, and then obviously get some replacement backstock.
And yeah, these pre-order open pre-orders that they generally have, it's usually okay, find out how many people are going to pre-order it. Okay, say they got 1,500. Just for a nice easy number to work with. Okay,
Yeah.
so they'll end up ordering 2,000 to be made, and they got to talk to all the different companies that they deal with. Nintendo for the carts, their art departments for getting this up and going, and the actual developers behind the games, and then make sure everything coincides with one another, package it up, and have it manufactured and sent to you. So
Yeah.
it is quite the process with any of these. But like you said, super rare. You can buy like have it shipped out like next day, pretty much. And the reason is because they only have a limited amount, so they have them made, ordered, they get them, they put it up for sale,
Well,
which
and
is
especially
how.
nowadays, like their limited is quite limited. Like I think a big release for them is maybe four. That I think their biggest release that I know of was a short hike, which was like 6,000 copies,
Yes.
and they bumped that up from like the initial like 3,000 and 1,000 steelbook or some crap like that. Uh, which, speaking of steelbook, makes me direct my attention back to limited run with so when I first started buying from them, I think they had collector's editions, but they didn't have collector's editions for every game that came out.
Okay.
I
Where
think
now
they
they
would
seem to
have
have for every game they come out with.
Some they have like 5.
Yep. It's
Yeah.
the Ubisoft method. Here's 5 special editions.
So funny enough that you mentioned that, I was actually going to say, like, I think where they really took a shift into some over bloated merchandise, and don't get me wrong, it sells, but I think the game that really was their first big release was the physical copy of Scott Pilgrim.
Yep.
I think that was their best selling game ever at the time, at least. And
Probably,
they had,
yeah.
you know, there was obviously the standard edition, which we ended up getting. And then there was like one that was supposed to look like, I think, a Super Nintendo copy, one that came in a VHS, one that came with like a briefcase and like a diorama of the band. And then they also had like pins and probably some other merch as well. Like it was an entire full page of just Scott Pilgrim stuff, right?
Yeah. And so kind of same situation, but not really. Tetris Effect Connected. When they came out with the special editions, they came out for a different special edition for each console. Now, okay, that's fine, right? But if you're a true collector and you see these different things, the collector edition boxes were all different tetrads that you'd use in, or tetraminos, whatever they're called. Tetraminos.
Yeah.
They're all different shapes. So, like, one was the line, one was the zigzag, and one was the square. That kind of thing. Or an L.
It's a dumb-sounding box, I'm not going to lie.
It is. But you know, if you're a collector and it's like, oh, well, the one
charming.
I want it for isn't the shape that would be great, or I got the dumb shape.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's they're doing that to cater to the people who really want to collect because they know they'll buy 3 different versions.
So wait, did you get the collector's edition? No.
I did not, no.
It did.
I don't think I've ever
release.
got a collector's edition of anything unless that was the only way of getting it.
I was just going to say, because
La Mulana 1 and 2.
Okay, but that was retail.
Yes, but same
Hyperlight
idea.
Drifter.
Oh right, yeah, Hyperlight Drifter. That was
only
collectors
available.
Only, which is dumb.
And that is really dumb, especially too when it wasn't. So I don't know when they started doing this, but when Limited Run started doing their distribution titles, which when they had this practice of, everything is a numbered release and, we keep track of all of their other, and then it's like, well, we're also going to start selling from some other small developers too, which in theory was really cool, except for some of these were really easily available and some, okay, the best example I can think of, and I feel like if not your local Walmart, you can easily go on Amazon and get this for like $20. And it is the Jumanji game. You remember that?
Yep.
Yeah, and
yes,
so
I do.
It is made by, I believe, Outright Games. And I'm not, calling out the developers that worked on it or anything, but it's just, I know that Outright Games is one of those, like, shovelware-esque kind of developers.
Oh, no.
Like, they feel very app-gamey, and so Limited Run had this, and there was like a couple collector's editions and all that stuff, but it wasn't actually like made by Limited Run, but they were shilling it hard, and I think this was like one of their first big like distro titles that made it really confusing between one of theirs. And I don't know, that was just shady.
No, what's shady is Limited Run does a sale of extra stock that they've had at the beginning of the year. Usually in January 2nd sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's how I've got some of my titles actually from them. Fury being one. However, what's shady is they also do these blind boxes.
I bought one of those.
Now here's the funny thing: they put Jumanji in some of them.
Yep. Yeah, they had quite a few.
Not
distro
a distributed games. Yeah.
And that.
Just imagine paying for a blind box and not getting a Limited Run title. Getting a Jumanji game that they're just distributing.
I would be very disappointed with that. I know I got it like the first year they ever did it, or maybe the second year. So they hadn't even really started the distribution stuff yet.
Right.
And I got one of their earliest titles. I think it's called Flint Hook. And
Okay.
it's I think it's kind of an indie gem and for those who know it. And it's a roguelike I guess an action platformer would be a pretty good way to put it, but it's all very condensed. Think of it more as instead of top down like Binding of Isaac, it was side scrolling platformer, but you're still stuck to that one room. You have to clear the enemies in the room and then you pick the direction to keep going.
Yep.
Uh and I didn't play it much, but it is very charming and it is something that I wish to go back to, and it looks really nice as well. But it's also very much something of the era that when Limited Run first started out, they were getting such out of left field titles. Like, well, I guess at the time, one of their most valuable titles now, like the Shantae series, it was super obscure.
Oh
It
God.
had its cult following, right? And now Shantae's like the Limited Run mascot. Uh,
Right. Way forward in general, almost.
Well, it seems that yeah, they have. I don't know the business practices behind it, but like Limited Run and Way Forward are hand in hand, and it is really cool because Way Forward makes top-notch games. But
Yep.
again, they go
As long as they're 2D. There's,
well,
anything 3D is a little questionable.
well, and also Way Forward is a we have to pay the bills kind of developer, and
Yes.
so this is kind of a side tangent from the whole limited thing, but I remember when there was an upcoming, I don't know if it was a Nintendo Direct or an Indie World or something, but they had specifically hyped up that there was a new game from WayForward being announced. So they have their pedigree, and people are thinking, oh, is it going to be like a new Shantae game or something along those lines? And
Yeah.
it was a Bakugan game. And I think that's when Nintendo didn't do another direct for a good while because they had like a treehouse presentation and everything for this game, and everyone was just like, "This doesn't look like it matters."
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah,
That
wait,
people still hung up on Silk Song.
oh, oh,
Remember that
that
being in a Nintendo Direct and just disappearing from the face of the earth?
yeah, it does a pretty good job of that whole disappearing act. But yeah, they had much more charming, smaller indie titles. Now, okay, so Way Forward, you would think is like a pretty big name for them at this point, but except now they're doing work with stuff like Konami, and they've done some
Mm-hmm.
for Bethesda, and it's just like
Has he
they're
done Bethesda stuff?
yeah, they did Doom Eternal and the
Oh
Doom
yeah, I guess that's
collections,
Bethesda.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because Bethesda's like we can't put it on a cart. Limited Run's like we can, and we can charge a lot more for it. Uh,
Yes.
And that was another one of their like kind of shadier releases. I think actually the first release I know of theirs, because Limited Runs had its handfuls of controversy, right? Especially
Yeah.
with being quote unquote limited and then no longer being limited. Some of these things they might go to retail or something. And I think one of the first times that they got really burned with it was I think Double Dragon 4.
Was it Double
Or
Dragon or
no,
was it Humans Fall
Streets of
Flat?
Rage. No, Humans Fall Flat was super rare, and it was a very similar story
Okay.
to that. Yes. No, it was Streets of Rage 4. They came out with a whole bunch of limited editions. I've actually got a buddy of mine who ordered one of the special editions of it. And before they had even shipped out, a retail version got announced, and that's where it was just like, whoa, like what's going on here? And then they kind of had to explain themselves.
Yeah.
And now I don't think that matters as much because so my stance on it, as cool as it is to be able to get these physical games of things that I would more than likely not be able to get physically, it kind of sucks how, and I'm not expecting them to print every game in the world, that would be a mess. But
Oh God.
the limited nature of things, it does kind of suck that it is restrictive in that sense. Uh Oh, that's what I was getting at. So when these companies end up doing a retail release of something that was previously limited, I'm actually happier when that happens. I don't care if it devalues the stuff I have, like
Oh,
Celeste,
absolutely.
even though its box art is not as good.
That's the thing.
Uh,
You're always going to have like a variant as well, regardless. Like Blasphemous has its own thing in it when retail,
yeah, Dead Cells.
and
Well,
that's out of
Dead Cells was always retail though.
date. Dead Sales was always retail.
Oh yeah,
Well, the
that's right.
Castlevania one looks great.
Uh, oh, the Blasphemous came out as the quote unquote complete package, and
Yes,
then it wasn't.
because they came out with one last DLC.
Yeah. Luckily, though, that happened long after the Streets of Rage and Human Fall Flat stuff. So at that point, I think people were getting a little less upset about things being specifically limited. Because again, if you want to jack up the price of something, that's more limited variant's always going to be worth more.
Absolutely. And I think
So
that whole Streets of Rage thing happened like after the pre-order was done
yes,
and it was being manufactured. So people weren't even having to get their hands on the limited run version. And then the retail one came out and it's like, wait a minute,
yeah,
the fuck?
yeah.
Right?
Now, Super Rare also has gotten into its first fair share bit of hot water with
Yes.
what was it? I know they've had some weird like shipping stuff and whatnot. I don't know about that one specifically, but I remember their first super rare. I think it's the mixtapes that they call them,
Okay.
and they were selling. There was just it looks like a cassette and it's a USB stick and it's got like 20 indie game demos on them or something like that, and it's like you know you're calling this quote limited memorabilia, but this is all stuff that you can just download for free on itch.io.
Yeah.
And
But at
but
the same time, were they open about what it was?
I think they were, and I think people were just pissed. And at that point, then just don't buy it. But
Right.
it's stuff like that. Actually, so another company that we haven't really touched on is Special Reserve, and
Right.
Special Reserve makes a quality product, and I don't know who owns who or how this works, but they're pretty much exclusive to publishing Devolver games. And
So from my understanding is Devolver Digital actually owns them.
that would make sense because that's primarily what, if not all, that they've ever put out. So,
Yep.
and they don't put out stuff much, obviously, because Devolver only puts out a game every once in a blue moon. And they usually have a really nice, I guess they call it the signature edition. And then you can usually buy some like standards. They're not really that much different in price though, because I've usually sprung for the signature editions. Like what I got, the Hotline Miami collection, Death's Door,
Yep.
uh, Carrion. Oh, and they're really nice. They got this nice uniform matching black box. Normally, like an outer sleeve to my game bothers me, but this is like big enough that it actually looks like like a small collector's edition.
So that's an interesting one that you actually just mentioned there because that was for sale through limited run and special reserve. Carrion.
I believe Hotline Miami was as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think they had different box arts and whatnot, and I just oh, the more I think about it, the more I think like, wow, Hotline Miami is like one of my favorite games of all time. But yeah, I remember they had slightly different box arts, and I think
Yes.
it was like the limited run variant. It was like more of a close up on the guy or something. I can't remember specifically.
Yep.
But yes, Carrion, because you got the limited run Carrion, didn't you?
I got
Not?
the limited run, and you got the special reserve, right? And yours came
Yeah,
with like one of those jelly sticky arms, which
yeah,
if
the
you
things
know
you get at
what
the end of the
Carrion
grocery
is,
store.
if you know what Carrion is, it makes so much damn sense.
Oh,
It's
it's such
great.
an adorable little pack-in. It also came with like this really high quality, like I don't think it's metal, but like it's a very hard acrylic material that has like this really nice artwork of the Carrion box art, and it's a nice, not too overloaded but quaint little package. And
Almost like a toss back to retro days, but while being modern.
very, very much so, yeah.
And
And
that's something that we didn't actually mention about these limited print is they
with the
generally
goodies,
contain like extra goodies, like an
yeah.
instruction manual, like the games used to come with. And
Oh,
it's so
you want to
good.
know? You want to know something that actually really disappointed me that I discovered recently?
What's
Um,
that?
So, fun little bit of random trivia that I'm going to insert, but it's just also going to kind of like highlight the quality that some of these limited print companies have. So, I mentioned a while back that I picked up Octopath Traveler 2, right?
Yes.
So, funny enough, Octopath 1 was published by Nintendo, and Octopath 2 wasn't. It was, I think Square just published it themselves.
Okay.
And if you know anything about Square's releases on the Switch, you know that they're pretty sparse to never using interior art.
Yes.
So Octopath 1 has this beautiful interior art. I think it's like the title card for every character in the game. And
Oh
Octopath
no.
2 is the
Oh
void.
no.
And I
Oh.
believe possibly warranty information. You know, like the greatest sin of interior art in this era.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Square.
Yeah, it's a shame. So
You
usually with
fucking
these
titheads.
these limited print games, you usually get really nice interior art. You're
God.
almost guaranteed a manual. More often than not, so limited runs stop doing this. It would just again following the trend of things that I say, like it's unnecessary, but it makes me sad. But they used to include trading cards with all of their games, and
Yes.
there was like one of five or so per game, and then I think there's like rarer versions or they had different borders. I don't know, but I have a nice little collection of them, and Super Rare also does a pack of cards. Usually include a sticker as well.
Yep.
Uh, they did for a
Which,
little
ooh,
bit.
a sticker, but
Yeah, I was like, I love that I got it. I'll never put it on anything, and that's the curse. Uh, and there was the one game I bought from Super Rare, which before I go on, so how many things do you have from Super Rare specifically?
from Super Rare,
Yeah.
4 that I remember to pull out, but there's probably some others that I missed. Because I'm noticing a few things that I don't actually have here on my table.
So I got like 9 or
When I went
10
through.
games from them. One on the way, actually. I have their number one PS5 game, which is a different story entirely. But
Yeah.
I will say, so Super Rare does some like really out there games. They do their own thing when it comes to publishing.
Yeah.
Super Rare, limited run, they're playing a lot more safe, with the Konami games, Castlevania, and all that. But then also they're just relying on their memes, like Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. Oh,
Oh,
Joel,
fuck's sakes.
we haven't even touched on that. Okay.
No. Okay.
So
Yeah.
limited run.
What the hell?
Would not even Plumbers Wear Ties. So we'll get to that. But one of their first more unique products, which I think it was their first anyway, and I purchased them, was they did reprints of retro games.
Okay.
Like, that are playable on their respective consoles. And I think it was with when they finally... Oh, that's right. It wasn't Scott Pilgrim that was the first to make contract. It was the retro Star Wars games.
Oh, Knights of the Old Republic, was it?
No. Like, you know how I have, like, the Game Boy games that
Oh.
came in, like, the fancy sleeves, and then also they did, like, reprints of Pod Racer for N64. Like, they did a whole bunch of the
Yep.
retro LucasArts catalog. And these were really cool mementos. Like, I picked them up, and I'm like, oh, cool, limited Game Boy games. They're Star Wars. Like, I'm a Game Boy guy, so this just seems like a neat thing. And then they just kept doing it for the dumbest stuff.
Yep.
And now they're putting out what is essentially like, you might as well just be buying really expensive reproductions.
And that's pretty much what they are. And some of the titles that they do are just, they're doing it for the memes.
Yep.
Like Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. Night Trap, even, I could say
Yeah.
more on the meme side, but I can understand its value in a sense. Like, it was one of the things that was brought up with the ESRB and how it got created and all that kind of stuff. Like, it has a place in video game history.
So the re-release of Night Trap for modern consoles, sure. The actual reprint of it for classic consoles, all right.
Okay.
That's just a repro in my mind, though. You can tell me what you want. Like, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with a good repro, but something about that seems a little weird. Maybe because I'm more used to getting my repros the redacted way. But I digress. It's just It doesn't seem right. That said, I own a good handful of these repros from Limited Run. Um, just the 2 Game Boy games for Star Wars, and then their reprint of the original Shantae on Game Boy Color. That one I thought was pretty neat
Right.
because I'm a
That
big
one's
fan of
pretty
the
cool.
series. Yeah, uh, but
And they work with WayForward a lot, so it's
it's
it's like from them.
Yeah, it feels a little bit more quote unquote legit.
Yeah.
But then you have some very other random. I keep talking about how these repros are dumb, and now I'm just about to talk about another repro I bought.
Yep. So if I were to guess, is this one from I Am 8-Bit?
You are correct. And I Am 8-Bit is kind of one of the out of left field of these limited print companies where they're just putting out merch. They've got albums, they've got books, vinyls, t-shirts, hats, and sometimes games. And they put out limited prints of Switch games. Like, I believe that's where we got our copies of Untitled Goose.
Yes.
I
got my Ori games.
Yeah.
Both Ori games for Switch.
What the Golf.
What the Golf, which
that
was
took a long time.
Yes, it was a limited print game for Switch through I Am 8-Bit, and I don't think they generally do that.
I think they also did something called Donut County, and they've done 1 or 2, but all the same.
So Donut County's a Devolver name, so.
Well, actually,
if they did, that's pretty surprising.
Funny enough, I was just thinking about Special Reserve, some of the stuff that they've done. If I'm not mistaken, The Messenger is not Devolver.
No.
And they did which is a pricey game now, because that was another one that Special Reserve and Limited Run did.
Right.
Yeah, it's a weird.
Yeah, because they had the purple background and the orange background, like the sunset background, didn't they?
And these companies, they're oddly in bed with each other. It's very strange. But yes, back to I Am 8-Bit.
Yet competitors.
Yeah. So I Am 8-Bit puts out some official super anniversary Super Nintendo games and stuff like that, and they've done a couple titles. They did weird stuff like Lion King. They did an Earthworm Jim combo cart. They did Street Fighter, but more importantly to me, they did Mega Man X. And it was
like a blind box too, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, because I don't know how many they said they made. It was like 8,000 or something like that. And normally it's a white cartridge, but like 1,000 of them was like a clear blue one. And I just happened to be one of the lucky fellows that got one. But I don't think I'll ever play it because apparently they're a fire hazard.
Oh, God. Really?
Yeah. The limited versions of Street Fighter 2 they put out apparently caught a couple consoles on fire. Don't quote me on that. That is alleged. Quote, alleged. But yeah, I did hear some stories along those lines. And but I Am 8-Bit is another one that, like, when you purchase something from them, they pull out all the stops in the quality of their product. What are some other ones that are... Oh, so it's back to Special Reserve, though. But more on the note of Devolver is they've done surprisingly one of the most shady things out of these limited print companies. Do you know what I might be referring to?
There could be a few things. Is it the no digital version?
That is...
Or is it...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Demon Throttle, which I've mentioned before, is a lot of fun for a very simple kind of arcadey top-down shooter.
And it's so funny because both of us, when they first says it's physical only, and we saw it, and we're like, this is so damn stupid.
Yeah.
Why... And both of us just kind of said, no, we aren't doing this. We aren't getting it.
We kind of unanimously agreed to, like, almost not buy it because, like, the only reason they said that is to get you to buy it. It was very much based on a FOMO approach. And they kept the pre-order window open for, what was it, like 6 months for this thing?
Yeah.
And it still did so poorly that it went to retail.
Yes.
And I'm glad it did, because it's a lot of fun. And you picked it up, did you not?
I did. I haven't played it, but I a lot of these, it's time and place, right? Like, there's a lot of
Yep.
these on my shelf that I still need to play through, and I'll get to it. Just
Yep.
not right now.
Not
Actually, some of our Mindy episodes, if you go back, they have like a lot of those games we played because of limited print
yes. Yes.
companies.
And then that's another thing too.
So,
Now, I don't know
Narita Boy,
Narita boy.
boy.
Oh, what a special game. And that's something that I do need to stress about these limited print companies as well. They will put out the games that you really want to be able to say you have as your own, right? Narita Boy, I think about it, puts a smile on my face. If it was a digital
Yep.
copy, I'd be like, that was a good game, but I wouldn't have that same weird tangible that I can look at on my shelf and go, oh, that's mine.
For us, at least, it's having something that you can actually physically touch, look at, open up, and
Yep.
whatnot. It means so much more when it occupies the space.
It makes a world of difference. Now, a lot of Special Reserves games do just end up going to retail. Death's Door went to retail.
Yeah,
I think
same time. The biggest thing is, and I will say this is very good on them because they do tend to put out a retail version for a lot of their titles.
Yep.
Take Loop Hero. It just got released in stores. But
it's like
with
a couple months that you get ahead if you go through with them and you get the extra goodies. But they very much acknowledge like it is coming to retail.
or it could even be like over a year after,
Mhm.
right? So, but they did put out like a sheet on their site and Twitter with Death's Door is, or
Oh.
I'm thinking Call to the Lamb. I'm thinking Call to the Lamb.
Call to the
Sorry.
Lamb was a mess.
But like they did it smartly, right?
Yep. No,
They said if you go
differentiated it.
in the retail version, you won't have the DLC or anything on the cartridge, and that's one of the things that a lot of people fight for when they physically collect something. Is they want something that when the servers are shut down, they can still properly play.
Yeah, even if
So-
it causes a exponential wait for the product, like for
Yes.
example,
Broforce.
Celeste. Yeah, Broforce has been held on to for a long time for that reason.
Yeah, are they like 2.5 years now?
That's rough. What the golf we had to wait for a long time.
Yep. And
Yeah.
they just kept saying, "Oh, sorry, we're delaying it again because we just decided to do so much more." Like, by the way, here's 200 more levels. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Now, do you
I mean,
wanna know
I'm down for it.
who an even more malicious of these limited print companies is? This is
Malicious how?
okay. So
In a sense of sending stuff to retail, or
that falls under the umbrella. There's a
because
lot.
I look at that as a good thing
Okay.
personally.
It would be, but I think you've only ordered, to my knowledge, one game from this company, and that would be
Strictly Limited.
yes. So Strictly Limited, if I'm not mistaken, are based out of somewhere in Europe, and their website has always been a little jank.
It looks like it's from GeoCities.
It's got
For
a
anyone
bit
who
of that
remembers
vibe.
that era.
And they put out some. They're a lot more in the arcade scene of things.
Yep.
They put out a lot of old school collections. I've ordered a couple games, mostly being the my beloved Darius collections. As hard as hell as they may be, and how little I might actually play them, I do like that I have them. And
I've ordered 2 games from them.
So one of them was I don't remember what it's called.
Epics of Hammerwatch, the Heroes Edition.
That was not the one I
Right?
was thinking of. But yes, I do believe that's where you ordered it from. No,
Yes. The other one was Crosscode.
that's what it was. For some reason, I was thinking Signalis. I don't know why.
No, I do not have a copy of Signalis. I think it would be really cool to have a copy of Signalis. I probably could if I looked on Amazon or something, but
I think it's around. I think that one was by Humble.
it's around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pseudo limited, you could say. It's,
Yep.
But yeah, so if I'm not mistaken, those games probably took a long time to get there.
They weren't too bad, actually. I've waited longer for less.
Okay. Because I know that Strictly Limited is notorious for. What was it? I think one of my copies of Darius came in April when it said it was coming in April, but it said it was coming in April of the previous year that I got it.
Oh.
Still on their page as I was awaiting my package. It was like, yeah, it's coming.
So, Epics of Hammerwatch was probably about 4 months,
Okay. That's actually pretty average for the ones that you
and
do the pre-order
Crosscode was
for.
about 6.
Hmm. Okay. So
So, I think that your experiences were just very in particular
that's true,
scenarios.
but I haven't gotten into their true malicious practice yet.
Oh,
Okay, so what
that
they are
is.
bad for. So Strictly Limited is in partnership with a company known as In Games. And I believe In is at least owns the rights to like the publishing rights for a lot of old like classic Taito games, like old arcade stuff. They own a lot of IPs. And
Okay.
so they do a lot of their releases through Strictly Limited, and they'll have these really nice big collections. And then they will break them apart and sell them for an inflated price at retail. So, for example, the Darius collection that I have, that I paid, I don't know, 80, $90, like it still wasn't cheap. They
Yep.
have broken up to almost individual games and sold them for about $60 a piece.
Ooh.
So there's that, but it gets worse than that. So,
Okay.
on one of my copies of the Darius collection, I can't remember which one, it comes with a special bonus game. And it is a port of Sagaya, which is basically Darius on the original Game Boy. And this is the only way you can get this game on your Switch is with this physical copy from this company. And they have a couple different releases. I think like what their Wonder Boy collection might have this. Their Ninja Jajamaru. I don't know, remember what it's called, but I do want it. But yeah, there are a couple things that there will be content that you cannot get unless you have this cartridge from this one company. That's just a little
So,
shady to me.
here's something I just thought of because of what you said there and the fact that you could only buy it through them. Um, Now, obviously, there's things like Play Asia, which is where we got some of our titles that we couldn't get.
So I was actually going to save Play Asia for the end of this discussion.
Okay, we
Yes.
can circle back.
Yes,
I was going
but
to bring up the Final Fantasy collection,
yeah, so we can
where you
we'll
could
save
only
that for
buy
the
it from the Square Enix store.
yeah, we'll save that for the end there. But yeah, that's my tangent on Strictly Limited. Now again, when I got what I ordered from them, still a quality product. Don't get me wrong, but
Oh, absolutely.
they got some shady business practices. I'm not going to deny that.
I think it's just not so much shady, just unprofessionalism.
Now here's a question for you, and if you're not sure, I can answer this question for you. Uh,
Okay.
but do you know of any limited print games that you have from any companies that are now defunct?
Yes,
Yeah.
actually. So one title that I could not get a hold of that I wanted because I didn't find out about these companies till afterwards,
Yep.
and those games were already done, and they don't go to retail. A fair amount of them still. And that was Golf Story. So what I ended up doing, because I still wanted it in my collection, was I got the Japanese version from B-Side Games, who is no longer around.
And that's a nice collector's edition too. Like it's a really
It
nice
it is
artwork.
nice artwork. Has a nice slipcover over it. Not even a slipcover. It's like a full tent over it.
Doesn't it come with like a cassette or something too?
Didn't come with a cassette. It came with a sticker of a cassette.
That's what it was. But still, like,
Yeah.
just charming
Yep.
little unnecessary add-ons.
Yep.
And
Just very nice package. Very nice quality.
yeah,
But
and
yeah, they're gone now.
yep. And I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but I know that there was definitely a fight for these limited Switch companies at the start, and a couple of them just they couldn't get the notoriety. There's one that I've actually seen popping up quite a bit. I almost think they're based out of Canada, called Premium Edition Games,
Okay.
and they do again some more obscure titles. One that comes to mind that people might know, I haven't played it, but it's called Super Blood Hockey. I think it was pretty popular for a while.
Okay.
they're in the very niche areas. They've only got like 5 releases. Their standard editions are about as quality as like limited runs, like classic editions. Like they come in a big Super Nintendo style box, come with nice manual, hard case. Like they go to the nines. I just have yet to purchase from them, so I can't really say much in experience. I'd like to one day. I actually kind of like just dabbling with these limited print companies and seeing what they have on offer, right?
Yeah, and let's admit it, like the big ones are always going to have the better games that
Yep.
are better appealing games. I'll say that. Try
But
and speak some kind of good English here.
but all the same, it's still nice. Like one of my favorite games from these limited companies that I've gotten is from Super Rare, and again, Super Rare is like kind of number 2 in the race, but they put out the more obscure ones, and
Yep.
it's a little game called Ghost of a Tale, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's just it kind of reminds me of like an old school like just adventure style game, not even so much combat, but more point and clickish, and you're just a mouse in a castle, and it probably didn't sell the greatest, but it was. I'm glad it existed.
Oh, absolutely.
I like the more
Uh,
obscure ones. I got did Scott Pilgrim, and that's great. But yeah,
or the Castlevania Anniversary collections and all
see,
that kind of stuff. They're great. I feel like those big companies should have been retail to begin with.
that's what I was gonna say. Like I love the fact that I have these games, but at the same time, I hate the fact that I couldn't just go and get them. And at the same time, everyone else can't just go and get them. Right? They have to be this special limited thing. And
Right.
I
And another shady business practice that we didn't bring up for limited run, and they've done this a few times now, is their collector's editions that don't include the game for different titles, such as Dead Space.
oh yeah, this is a newer shady for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like these, we were saying shady, these companies are trustworthy, like they'll get you your product and all that kind of stuff.
We as consumers approach it as shady.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's not looked well upon kind of practice.
Well, okay, so my honest review as someone who, as I stated earlier in this episode, has been purchasing from them for 5 years, I remember a time where I would get excited to see what the next physical they were putting out. As
Yep.
where now, like I glance at it, but it's barely on my radar. And a lot of the games that come out, I'm like, meh, and they just pump out so much. It was easier to care before. It was more exciting. Now, I will say, as of late, they've been coming out with some more interesting stuff. Like they just kind of shadowed up the fact that they're like, yeah, we're doing Quake 2. Stuff like
Yeah.
that. Still, again, you're more bigger names, but things I'm more interested in. They were doing a lot of really obscure, like
It's
visual
not
novel
like
RPGs and
Poppy's
stuff.
Cooking #3 or some shit, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's titles like, and granted, some of them we've looked upon when they've announced them, and we took a chance on them. Narita Boy was actually one of those.
Boy. Oh,
We took a
God.
chance on it, and it was fantastic.
Yeah. Blasphemous.
I don't know about you, Iconoclast.
Oh, Iconoclast is so underrated.
It really is. It is
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. These feel
Divinity
like
Original Sin
early.
2, I took a chance on. It's not even my genre, as we've come to figure out, but I had a friggin' blast with it.
You know what's funny about that game too is because I want to say for the most part the games were around 30, 35 US on
Yep.
average, and I think Divinity was like what 59 US, so like $60 compared to the rest. It was a more pricey game. I remember
I don't
that.
think it was.
I think it. Well, but
I don't know. Here,
You got-
you talk. I'm going to look.
yeah, because if I recall correctly, it had a higher price tag than your average limited run game. But I mean, you got the content for it. That was for damn sure. And
Oh hell yeah!
now, like I know, just inflation in general, things got more expensive, but they have things that are ludicrously expensive now. Like,
Yeah, it was a bit more because my
Yeah.
total came to $74.98, and that would
Okay.
be Canadian, I think. So
yeah, that's about the cost it is for like 2 and shipping usually.
at the same time, at its peak price, I could have sold it for $200, right?
Yeah.
So,
It
but
does, it- you
instead,
do have-
I got value out of it.
Yeah.
from enjoyment.
Yeah, but there was a good time where their releases, it seemed like it was mostly distribution titles, and it got kind of hollow for a bit, and I don't
Yeah,
know. Now
they apparently have
here's
a new warehouse,
ooh, that could get things out a little
so they're
faster.
they're reducing their release schedule and just catching up now.
It's not a bad way to go about things. I
So
have one more area of this to get to before I want to get to Play Asia and how that ties into all this.
okay,
But another, I guess you could say, pseudo limited print company because their prints aren't limited, but you still have to go off the beaten trail to get these versions of these games. Is something like Fangamer, and
yes.
they are less a pre-order limited print as they are a we just have a specific that was where to get Hollow Knight for the longest time,
Yes, it was.
and they did come to retail as well, but limited in a retail sense, but you could always count on going to these websites and they would always have them restocked. And they have some legendary games. Like,
And not to say that they focus on the niche, because I mean, Hollow Knight had a big appeal.
yep,
Same with Stardew Valley.
yep,
I'm pretty sure that was a fan gamer.
yep.
Amori,
Yeah, Amori's
Undertale.
another one. Oh yeah, that is where I got Undertale. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, and they also have nice collector's editions as well, but they are very much just, they're not super limited. They run out of stock. They will make more and restock them, and I think that's really
So,
cool.
and speaking of their merchandise, actually, it was Tyler who got something for me for one of my birthdays, I think, or Christmas. I don't remember.
Some of those,
Um,
one of those days.
but it's a fan made hardcover book, a handbook for Mother 3,
Yeah,
and it's really cool. And
yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you get the sheet music for Hollow Knight?
No, I got the sheet music for Undertale because
Oh, okay.
yeah,
That's
it's a.
close.
I mean, they fit around the same era. Oh God, no! I didn't want to tackle the Hollow Knight stuff with my very amateurish piano skills. But Undertale, like some of it's pretty intense. Don't get me wrong, but Undertale's like kind of simple in its brilliance. So
Yep.
there was some songs that I could pluck away at it. And yeah, I think sites like Fangamer are a wonderful boon in that, like they're not limited, but they feel limited. They feel nice to order from.
Yep.
I've
You could argue that I am 8-bit is kind of similar
I am a
as
bit is
well.
in a similar camp, but they are a little bit more. It's a weird way to put it, but I'd say it's
Merchandise
like
heavy
I'd say
for
they're like the
various
more
IPs.
they're more unhinged in their merch releases, right? As
Yep.
where you pop onto Fangamer for a bit and they're like, yeah, we still have our games, but we got a couple new hats, we got some pins and stuff, and then I am 8 bits over there, and it's just like
I heard you
abstract.
like Cuphead. I heard you liked Hollow Knight. I heard you liked Stray. I heard
Here's
you liked Disco
here's a
Elysium.
very outsider artist interpretation book of Pac-Man, and
Yes.
also some Battletoads vinyl and socks.
They
All
do
right,
like their vinyls.
I'm out of here. Bye. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I am 8 bit. They're very rare. They handled. I know this one is very widely available retail, but they were the ones who handled Stray, weren't they?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So I am 8 bit's neat, but they're very much like they're just off doing their own thing.
So they did the PS5 version of Disco Elysium, I'm pretty sure.
Right. Was it the
They did a
PS5 or
nice
the Switch version?
PS5, yeah. No, PS5.
Hmm. I gotcha.
The Switch
Oh,
version, as much as I will praise Disco Elysium for its storytelling, the Switch version is laggy as hell.
not the ideal way to play.
No.
Noted. Duly noted.
When the music stutters,
Oh, that's
it's
unfortunate.
noticeable. It is. Still
Uh,
great.
so now, unless you have some more obscure companies on your mind, well, I think the thing that it's almost the elephant in the room for the limited S collectors is little company known as Play Asia, and I'm sure there are other websites in this same vein, but at least as far as I'm aware, like they are the go-to name in anything import, and most of the time with these limited print games, you're gonna get almost a retail level version of it. When typically it'd be like the Asian English that it comes out because
Yep.
it's a multi-regional thing. The beautiful thing about the Switch is not being region locked. You can just buy stuff from wherever and it will work.
Yep. For the most part, anyways.
Yep. And
You get the odd region locking, but not so much with cartridges.
not even so much region locking, it's just not being translated. Um,
Yeah.
that'll lock you though. That's for sure. Except for me, because I have beaten a game I bought from Japan in its entirety because I already knew it so damn well.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, the interesting thing with Play Asia is you'll get these limited games that are available, more available because they don't have that window for the most part, and sometimes you'll even get better versions.
Sometimes, yeah. And like a
So,
whole idea behind Play Asia is there's it caters to the areas that don't have downloads available, right?
yeah, yep.
So they can't purchase games online, they need physical versions. So I don't know exactly what the law is or anything with that, but it's something along those lines.
But lo and
Take that
behold,
with a grain of salt. So,
for
but it's
for
really nice to
myself,
order from there.
yeah, as a collector, it's nice to know that I can get these things. And so
Usually.
from Limited Run, a good example. I don't know if this is out yet. I plan on getting it. Is how Limited Run did the Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 1 and 2,
Yep.
and I know at the very least, Bloodstained or Curse of the Moon 1 is like silly expensive.
It
Uh,
still is.
and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a sequel is, at least holding its value, if not gone up a little bit. Or you could order it,
It's holding its value, yeah.
yeah, or you could order a Japanese copy that has both.
Yep.
The one
And
I
how many
got,
just do that?
and something else I would recommend that you do, and I got burned on this one hard, and it was like, well, I have to have the whole trilogy as itself now, even though they announced the whole
Ah.
trilogy on one cart as the Blaster Master Zero games. Like, I think I had the first two. They had announced and sold the third one, and then there was like, oh yeah, there's going to be an Asian copy that just has all three now. It's like, well,
Yep.
damn it. Uh,
Yep.
and this isn't even so much as it's like it doesn't bug me as like, oh no, the value of my games is like, no, I had to buy it three times, but I could have bought it once.
Right.
But on the flip side with Play Asia, not even like undercutting stuff like Limited Run, you'll just get games that weren't coming out physically. Because, like you said, there are
Yeah.
these places that they don't have the same accessibility to downloads as we do. And that's where you. How did.
Legend of Mana.
That's a special
Legend of
one
Mana
for me.
remastered. That was we had to get that from PlayAsia because there was
I
no
was.
physical version coming to the West or
I,
even East.
I was just gonna say, how have of all these limited print companies, the one that's dropped the ball the hardest is the one that's the AAA juggernaut in the room.
Square?
Yeah, yeah, just not putting out
Yep.
their games, and
Yep.
then it's like, oh yeah, you want Final Fantasy 7 and 8 here on the same cartridge. 9 had to be itself because it came out a little later, but whatever. Here you go. And then Square's
10 and
just
10
like
2.
1 to 6 being the biggest blunder.
Oh, the 1 to 6 being Square Enix store only. And then, yeah, there was the PlayAsia version. The PS4 versions, for whatever reason, they got pre ordered and then they all got cancelled from PlayAsia. And I don't know what happened.
Whatever it is, I have my copy for Switch, which is honestly like one of the dream collections, like cream of the crop things that I have for my collection
Absolutely.
for Switch. But the fact that it was, and again, the quote unquote inferior Asian copy has better interior art and still
Yep.
plays great. They put less work into the limited one. Oh, that was just handled
I
so
don't
badly.
understand. Oh god.
Not only
Square
that,
Enix, they make some good games. They make some flunks as well, but they just don't understand the market.
so I don't know if I can give this as another knock to Square. It'd be funny to do so, but they make a good enough case. So when I first got my Switch and I found out about the Mana Collection, and of course the Mana Collection having Seiken Densetsu 3 on it, it's like, oh my god, it's on this new console. I have to get it. I don't even care if it's in Japanese. And then I bought it,
Yep.
thinking it never came here. It's never gonna come here. And then it came here, and then I bought it. I own it twice, 3 times, kind of. But I don't care. because I got it.
Yeah.
My first of the Darius collections. It's an arcade shooter. I don't need English. Got that from PlayAsia. It's so cool for these, like, you want a physical copy guaranteed. You will get it. And there's still a few I have to check off. You just gotta be patient and pay some import fees. That's really the only penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't usually get hit by customs, which is nice.
Don't think
I think
ever have with
PlayAsia,
them,
I
though.
only have two things from PlayAsia, and that's Final Fantasy 7 and 8 collection,
Yeah.
and the Final Fantasy 1 through 6 collection.
And Legend of Mana.
Oh, and Legend of Mana. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There it is.
So,
And it was going to be Chrono Cross, and I just never did it. Same with Klonoa.
Chrono Cross is still... So another thing with PlayAsia as well, I've noticed that some of their releases you can find on Amazon. Like, I've been looking at copies of Chrono Cross and Final Fantasy 9 on Amazon. And
Yeah.
so, because, again, they're not limited. They're just treated like a store. You can go to... I've gone into a lot of, like, small mom-and-pop game shops, and they've had just PlayAsian copies of Final Fantasy, stuff like that. And
Yeah.
praise be to their limited ways.
So speaking of limited games and limited run, Quake 2's up right now. I gotta get that.
Yep.
So it'll go with my Quake 1.
Yep. I would like a copy of Quake 2, but I think I'm actually currently awaiting an order from Super Rare. And normally you're not, but like I mentioned, I bought their first PS5 release, one because it was one for Switch that I just missed out on from Super Rare, and another because I don't know, it's the first that they put out, or maybe it's just kind of a neat collection piece. But I also I paired it with a Metroidvania called Haiku, and that has been ready this whole time. It just can't ship because it's a PS5 game. Yeah, it's weird to think that that's the one that's holding it back, but yeah, that would be. I don't know if
I got two things ordered right now from Limited Run. It's Nobody Saves the World and
Castlevania.
Okay, three things.
Yeah.
Because there was something else. I don't remember now.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm looking. Nobody Saves the World and Curse to Golf.
Oh, that's right. That was what I was
bundled it together, so I made that mistake.
Yeah. Oh, oh yeah, that's right. If you bundle your purchases with these pre-order based companies, be prepared to wait.
Yeah.
What was it?
If one's ready and the other takes another year, you're waiting another year before you get it.
Yeah, I bought my copy of Celeste when I bought my blind box. The blind box has been made and ready to ship since I bought it, but Celeste kept getting more and more content, and they insisted on holding it back until So if I guess to really generalize when it comes to these limited print companies, yay or nay? Given how much money I spent, it's kind of hard for me to say nay.
No, that's because things change how they function, right? But I'm a yay, because without it, there wouldn't be a physical copy.
Yeah.
Of a lot of things that I enjoy, and my biggest collection is probably from limited print companies.
They're nice to have, and not only that, I feel like it's
a lot of them are indie games, and you know how much we talk about indie games.
That's a big part of it.
Sorry, I cut you off there.
This is one way we can get stuff like, and indie games that I have even have nostalgia for, like something like Rogue Legacy. I beat that to death when it came out, but I found that it was getting a limited copy. Sure, yeah, sign me up.
Not so much limited, but that's why I got Binding of Isaac Afterbirth.
Yep.
Or Repentance.
Yep. Well, it was the indie scene in general that brought me to this whole limited print scene as is.
Yep.
So I can't really say anything bad about that. Now with these companies, when they have some releases that I just think, geez, why are you doing that? At the end of the day, I don't have to buy everything they do.
Nope. There are certain people that play on the FOMO of that, but
yeah, well, people have to have
person.
full sets and whatnot. No, I just want the games I want.
Yep.
Simple as that.
And the games I'll play.
So,
aside from Evoland Legendary Edition, because that thing is bugged and I cannot finish it.
Yeah, that wasn't.
And they will not release an update.
Okay, do you have any before now, unless you have more to say about these companies, I can do my closing random question.
Are you going to ask me what is my pride and jewel of my limited print games?
No,
Okay, that's good.
you can talk about it if you want.
I
I was
I
actually
don't.
going to ask the total opposite of: is there any of your limited print games that you have purchased that you've gone, why do I have this?
Um, that is quite opposite. Jesus.
Yeah.
Uh, not really. No.
Okay.
I mean, they all have their own spot in the collection, right? And granted, some of them I'm not like dead set on jumping into right away,
Yeah.
but there's still a reason that it's there. So the only video game purchase I've made where I've regretted the past couple years isn't a limited print. It is Super Mario Golf.
Oh, see, for me it was Skyrim.
Yeah, I didn't buy
uh,
Skyrim because I already knew it's trash.
yeah.
Oh,
I tried to see. I think out of all the ones I own from at least limited run in my collection that I'm like, I didn't really need that. It was the new Toe Jam and Earl game, but it doesn't mean like I'm unhappy with the fact that I have it. It was just
yep.
I don't know why I wanted this, but I have it now.
So, if we're talking in that sense, I'd probably say Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yeah, I could see that being an answer for you. I
Because
definitely
I'm
hyped that
not.
one up real high.
Well, it has its reason. Like it's there because it disappeared off the face of the earth for a while, right? Like it's licensing just kind of
We we have
got
a
up and
very
walked out.
We have a similar situation coming up. It's not from limited run either, but it is a game that is becoming less accessible, but also still always accessible. Is I got a copy of Castle Crashers a coming.
Ah, yes.
Been asking for
Which
that one for far too long. Which
yep, and Behemoth is self-publishing,
yeah. So
and I
that
haven't
sounds pretty
seen anything
limited.
saying that there's limited.
But
Nothing says it's limited.
I'm scared it is though.
Me too.
Yeah. But to get to my actual final question is
Would it be
is
wrong for me to message Dan Paladin and be like, "Hey,
that's all I did on Twitter.
is is
That's
this
all I used
abusing?"
Twitter for. Was just like give me Castle Crashers physically.
Same here, and
Yeah.
I did that with our main account, optional
Yeah.
boss PC. Um, but I have Dan Paladin on Steam. Like we're Steam friends. Would it be wrong if I abuse that and be like, "Hey, I know we aren't going to play Astroneers right now, but is that Castle Crashers coming out physically limited or no?"
Yeah. How many copies, and will I be able to purchase at least a copy?
Can you
Um,
put a copy aside from me?
but yeah, I think my question to you is there a game that you can think of that you would want a physical copy for Switch? Now, it has to be something that you know is out for Switch, mind you.
Okay, so something that I know is out for Switch.
Yeah, we're not just pulling any game from existence. That would be Chrono Trigger.
I can't. Mm,
See, I already know. I've wanted this for years.
one that's on the Switch. I can't think of one at the moment.
Or you can
I'm
even
sure
just
there
think
is
of
one.
a reputable indie that might already be on the Switch.
A reputable. Okay, I was going to say something that has a possibility,
What's that?
but probably not. But has a possibility. Now it's going to be a Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3 collection.
Okay. Okay.
With how Konami's being with their IPs, they putting out the Metal Gear Solid. They have the Castlevania Anniversary Collection and the Advanced Collection. Contra, like a lot of their IPs have been coming to Switch.
Yeah.
So where it's doubtful, they are also on a bit of a Silent Hill kick in production right now too. So
All right. All right. I'll
maybe
give you that.
as for what's actually out on Switch, I can't. Oh, okay. Here's one. I don't even know if this is the right game name because, again, if it's not physical, I tend to just shove it to the back of my mind. Uh, Cyber Shadow.
Oh yeah. The not Shovel Knight game from Yacht Club.
Yes, it was published by Yacht Club.
Yes, I've been barking up that tree for years, actually.
Yes.
And, not holding out hope yet, but it still hasn't shown the light. But
I did bug them. I did bug them on one of their things when they put up a sale and asked for a physical, and they said if there's enough people asking for it.
Well, and I'm hoping, too, because they have another game around the corner, that Mina the Hollower. And,
yes.
They've already stated that should be getting a physical as well. But I digress. For myself, it's a little indie game by the devs of Risk of Rain, and I don't see it getting physical, although it did get a PSP release for Unlimited Run many, many years ago. And it's called Deadbolt.
Oh, those the Risk of Rain guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really, really good. And I don't see it really getting a physical because it's like a $8 game, something like that. But it's fun. It's so
Gato
quirky.
Roboto.
Yeah, Gato Roboto.
Was a cheap game, and it got one.
Oh, another like top tier of the collection as well that we both have is a Short Hike.
Yep.
Another dirt cheap game. So, it's not impossible, but it would feel nice to have that on my shelf, especially because I got Risk of Rain and Deadbolt's so fun. Even if it's not physical, people go buy Deadbolt on your Switch. It's fun. It's weird. You're just killing, drug dealing zombies, and I've said too much. I've said too much already.
Drug dealing zombies. That's what more do you need?
There is way more, and it also has one of the most touching stories I've ever witnessed. But having said that, it's really hot in this box. So did you wanna close us on out?
We can wrap this up. Yeah.
I think
I don't know if idea. I have any final thoughts. Just the more that comes to retail, the better off we are. But in the meantime, these limited companies will suffice.
Yeah.
Even if they take a little bit of time, I got patience sometimes.
And even though we've said a couple of negative things about these companies, again, not to actually detract from them, they do make a quality product. If anyone's interested in purchasing from them, I wouldn't tell you not to. Just make sure you're buying games you want to have. That's really all I got to say. Be
smart with your money. Don't just go willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Don't buy something just for the sake of buying something or hoping that it's going to have a better resale value.
Oh, and
that's just dumb.
Don't buy them to flip them later, you dink.
Yeah, if you buy them to flip them later for that sole purpose, and you're taking a copy from someone who generally wants it and wants to enjoy the product,
don't do that.
Go fist yourself.
Yeah, don't be a Wada.
Fuck Wada.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Stay tuned.
Yes. Next. Next episode, we will be talking Blasphemous for our episode 25.
Yes, our very first Optional Boss presents.
Yes, Optional Boss presents Blasphemous. As Blasphemous 2 just released the other day, actually, and the physical is going to be around in a couple weeks, and I don't know about you, but I can't wait.
I have opinions, and most of them are great.
So stay tuned for that episode, and if you want to leave us a review, again, it helps us every step of the way. There is a little question thing on Spotify. Feel free to answer it if you want. I think it says, how did you find this episode or something like that. All interaction is good interaction for us. And it helps us kind of climb the wee charts that we're showing up on now.
Yeah.
And if you want to interact with us on Instagram and Twitter, our handle is @OptionalBossPC, as in podcast. Or you can email us at optionalbosspodcast@gmail.com. I've been Josh, the other one's been Tyler, and Tyler, unless you got something witty to say, goodbye, everybody.
Bye!